What's up, everybody? Ralph with Pondscapes, and today what we're talking about is cleanouts. My favorite part of the spring is making these beautiful ponds nice and clean once again for the rest of the season, and let me show you how that happens. Look at this right here. This is two finely tuned race cars. They are redlining right now. They are in a holding pattern. They're in the red. They are just ready to attack this pond. Beautiful little pond that we built a little over a year ago, and it is ready for its very first clean out. So these guys are ready to attack this pond and make it look even better than it already does right now. So really what we've got is just a bit of debris buildup in here. You can see in the intake bay, and we've got a little bit within the pond. So this is about a year and a half of buildup, very normal. We're gonna trim these plants, clean that up a bit. We're gonna power wash the waterfall and stream. We'll power wash the water line of the pond, and then the rest of the pond will get a heavy rinse. We don't want to strip off that biofilm that's growing within the pond. What are the main components that we need to do a pond clean out? First of all, you need some able and willing hands. Let's go through the rest of the list. We've got a wheelbarrow, knee pads, 100-gallon tanks, fish nets, tarps that we put over the tanks. When the fish are in here, we clamp these down, and we put aerators, which is right there. We put aeration in here. That way the fish are nice and happy and healthy, getting oxygen. We put that tarp over to ensure that the fish aren't gonna get a little randy and jump out of our tanks. We've got hose, extension cord, safety plugs, aeration, clean out vacuum, more hoses, pressure washer, more hoses, waders, boots, water treatments, trash bags, and last but not least, gravel to do our finishing touches. A lot of times we add more lilies or some marginal plants to your pond. This one, we've got a good amount. They didn't want to add any extra, and this thing in a couple months will be exploding with beautiful lilies, so we're gonna get after it. We're getting out all that dead and dying foliage on the outside and inside of the plant. That way it looks nice and pristine when we're all done. Add a few more rocks to top it off and make it really look nice. Alex is pulling water from the pond into our tanks. That's gonna serve us two purposes. Number one, the fish are already acclimated and used to this water, so that's gonna be less stress on the fish. And number two, we've got 300 gallons that we'll be able to put back into this very pond once it's all cleaned out. That means we're adding less tap water to this pond. Okay, on this pond, because it's an intake bay, we've got our pump vault right here. This is a pondless pump vault. We've got our pump right here, and here is our float valve. So we'll inspect the pump, make sure everything looks good in there. There's no debris inside the intake of the pump. When we're inspecting the pump, we want to, number one, make sure that it's turned off. Two, we check the impeller, make sure all the fins are intact, and also that it spins very freely and smoothly. Next item that we want to check on the pump is the check valve. We've loosened the lower collar. Now we can pull this check valve right off. And what we're checking is this flap inside right here. You can hear it flapping back and forth. You can see that's just a little rubber flap right there. And what we want to do is inspect that it's opening and closing and is properly attached. Next step, we've got a lot of debris built up in here from the trees above. So what we'll do is we're going to pull all this rock out and then really rinse this down. Now that we're down in the vault, we've got the aqua blocks exposed. We're gonna take the water from the pond and rinse this whole area out, and that's going to force sludge and buildup that may have accumulated in there right over here into the bottom of the vault. And it's going to be very simple. We're going to vacuum all of that out and get this thing nice and clean. There we go. Now you can see the sludge material that Dominic is flushing out. It's coming right up through that clear tube. Alex, what's going on over here?
We've got a temporary river, temporary new water feature. No charge either.
What in the world is he talking about? Oh, I see.
We gotta get trolls under the bridge.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, no trolls under there?
No trolls.
Hey, how about your shirt? Look like you peed yourself a little.
Oh no.
All right, so what we do is we take our filters and bio bags and stage those around a tree or plant, or even a garden if you have one. We put these pads here because the organic material that's coming out is really beneficial for vegetation. So Dominic is rinsing these out real good. All that fish poop and organic debris is gonna go right in this area and be so nice for those trees. This water at this point is wastewater, so we can use it to clean our filters. Another reason why we like to use this technique is we're saving water. We're not using so much tap water to clean out the filters and then do the final rinse with a garden hose. We really like using the water from the pond to clean out the streams because that pump is pushing out a nice heavy flow of water, and that gets really deep down into the sediment. And you can see he's moving the rock around, really agitating all the sediment that builds up in our dirty Arizona air. We've got a lot of monsoons and dirt and stuff that flies through the air. And of course that ends up in the pond. We can really get this cleaned out using this technique. There we go. Fish are contained, nice and safe. With all the fish removed from the pond and safely stowed in the containers, now we get to get into the pond and really start giving it a good rinse. So first step we do, we really rinse it down with our hose. We've got our pump at the lowest point of the pond. We get all that heavy debris pumped out. We come through with a pressure washer. We pressure wash the waterfall and stream and the water line edge, and then we give the pond another good rinse and time to start filling it back up. Alex, you got it, buddy. All right, this is really cool. So what this is a dragonfly nymph. This is what a dragonfly looks like in its nymph stage. So dragonflies actually spend a majority of their life at this stage. Now, a sign of a happy, healthy pond is these guys all over, and we have found several. So once they grow, they break out of their shell and go on to be beautiful dragonflies buzzing around your yard. Another benefit when these nymphs go to actual dragonflies is they eat a lot of flying insects, such as flies and mosquitoes. And another mosquito eater are these little guys right here. This is my favorite way to combat mosquitoes in any kind of ecosystem pond. These are Gamboa or mosquito fish. They are a very aggressive species of minnow, and they do a fantastic job of scavenging all the nooks and crannies for mosquito larvae or any kind of small insect that may want to take up residence in your pond. All right, we're coming along nicely. We've got about half of the pond rinsed down. Now you can see this other side, the guys haven't got to that point yet, but directly across you can see how nice and clean that is. Now what we'll pressure wash is just that edge right there, and then we'll do a little bit closer wash, not a hard pressure wash on some of these rocks, but we'll get it just a little bit more, and it'll be so nice and clean when we're all done. Now we're filling the pond. We want to pull out our clean out pump, and what Alex is doing is giving our clean out hose a final rinse so we don't transfer any kind of parasites that may have been in this pond to our next pond. So we do a good job of cleaning that out so it's nice and clean for the next project in front of us. Now we're putting the lilies back in. Some of these lilies were potted, so it's nice and easy to drop those back into the location. We gave them a good little haircut. And then some of them that were not planted in pots, we just plant them in the gravel and let them grow for another season. Another tool that we have in our arsenal is the final detail clean out blower. So we've got these really messy trees up here above us. I want to get this nice and clean, so I'm going to use this to blow around the edges. Typically a gas blower would work, but it's on the other truck. So this guy is coming in handy today. When we're adding water back into the pond, it's important how we add that water back in. So you see how we've got the hose oriented, so we actually agitate the water, causing aeration. That helps oxygenate the water and be less stressful for the fish when they come back into the pond. Now we got to put our beneficial bacteria and dechlorinator in there. And this helps reseed the beneficial bacteria colony up in the biofalls. And just like that, we got a clean pond ready for another beautiful Arizona summer. And some expectations to consider when we do a pond clean out. That is normal for a pond to have algae growth. We just want to control it. We don't want the pond exploding with algae. What you want to do in this scenario, if you have algae growth immediately following a clean out, is make sure you're adding your bacteria. Make sure you're doing your water treatments like EcoBlast, which is a granular algicide, accompanied with SAB, which is a stream and pond clean. You mix that up in a pail of water, put that around the perimeter of your pond. With a combination of bacteria, EcoBlast, and SAB, your pond will stay beautiful all year long.